you don't even know how good it can get. And that so many people just see relationships as a place to get their needs met or a place where they get to fulfill some of their loneliness. And actually, when we're able to move away from so much of the hiding and the shame that we place on ourselves and our partners and bare our truest heart, what we are able to create through union is so powerful. And that blueprint is one of the most sacred gifts.
Welcome to Follow Your Heart Song, where we reclaim pleasure, break taboos, and awaken to our deepest desires. I'm Rose Heartsong, bringing you raw, unapologetic conversations on sex, spirit, and self-liberation. Let's dive in. Welcome to Follow Your Heart Song. So tonight, as I always say, I'm always really excited about this show. That's my vibe. I am interviewing a dear friend of mine and her partner, which we've never really had some deep dives before. So I'm really excited to go from knowing my dear sister for so long and then diving deep with her sweetie tonight. So we have Alaya Moon and Zach Bosworth. Hi, Zach Bosworth.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Alaya Moon.
Hey.
Hi, darling. And tonight, the three of us are going to go into some yummy, juicy, delicious, divine union codes because these two are stepping up as leaders in sharing their story and inspiring others to know that this type of love and union is possible. And so I'm really excited to dive in. We just had dinner together and I really held back because Zach and I haven't really dove into this topic yet. So I've been kind of like almost teasing myself for tonight.
Edging.
I'm just edging away. So I would love to hand it over to you two to introduce yourselves.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having us on here and opening the space for us to come and speak from our hearts and speak about love and union and relationships and intimacy. Yeah, these are the threads that I'm weaving now in my life and stepping into the facilitation roles as a heart mentor, really with the intention of bringing a strong message that the depth of the heart is what we're here to explore. Yeah.
Welcome to Follow Your Heart Song.
Thank you.
We're in the right place.
In the right place. And there's a place that just opened up across the street and it's called, I think it's Heart Shine. And then there's also, Dakota was on recently, and Project Heart Shine and Project Heart Song, I think. I don't know. There's so many hearts. I'm just so confused with all the hearts. So thank you for being on the right show at the right time. And I'm really grateful to have you both here.
Yeah.
Hi, darling.
Hey.
So I'm going to actually introduce us because we have a history together. I was telling the story during dinner. The first time we met was your mom called a dear friend of ours, Roxanne Ruby, and said, my daughter snuck out and smoked weed under the bridge in Kauai with some random boys. You have to come over and have a conversation.
They weren't that random.
What? Yeah, okay. I didn't know. That's all I heard. That's the only story I have. And that was when you were 14. And I think that was like, how old? When was that? Like 2012?
Probably 2013.
13, yeah.
I actually didn't even inhale.
Oh. Are you getting in? Is your mommy getting you in trouble, right?
No, that was just the funniest part of the whole thing, was that it was also new to me. And I was just being really cool, and it was just placebo because I never even inhaled.
So I came over to you as I think a 21 or 22-year-old to tell you how to be safe. And that was a long time ago. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to have you here. So please introduce yourself.
My name is Alaya Moon. I'm a lover, an artist, poet, a singer, a dancer, somatic practitioner, and here with my beloved tonight to really talk about our love, as it is one of the most precious treasures that I get to continue to tend to with him, and just here to share our hearts with the intention to inspire and uplift and laugh and grow together. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
So I want to hear the story of how you met.
How far back do you want me to start?
I want you to share your side because I've heard her side. We're gonna go there as well for the listeners, but I would love to hear your side.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when I get to share this story. And I try to take the right amount of time to share it as well, because I feel it deserves that.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks for asking. Yeah. Yeah. So leading up to meeting Alaya, I was living in downtown La Jolla here in San Diego, and I had spent the last 2 years really focusing on myself, working on my internal landscape, working on limiting beliefs, patterns, things that were showing up in my life that I was ready to look at and change, and wanting to show up in the best way that I could as a man in my life and in my relationships. I did a lot of deep work in some men's groups here in San Diego, and actually co-founded and co-facilitated a men's group for over a year and a half. And thank you for helping with that, by the way. I can hear now. So I had done a lot of this internal work leading up to meeting Alaya. And there was a portion of that work that was intentionally done because I knew I was preparing for a deep love. And I wanted to be a safe place for that love to land. And also understand how I wanted to bring my heart to that relationship, and how I wanted to bring my capacity of love to that relationship. And I'd done some dating in that time as well. And I was with someone for a few months before meeting Alaya, and everything on paper said that that relationship was a go and was good. And there were beautiful moments. But there was also a moment where I was ready for more depth and more commitment in that relationship. And where they were on their journey, they weren't ready for that. And there was the opportunity to continue staying there in that particular orientation of relationship where it wasn't super deep, but we were still engaging in intimacy and engaging with each other, spending time with each other, like sharing our hearts with each other. But I knew I wanted something deeper. And this was a big lesson for me, and it's something that I've shared with a few other men in my circle, which is sometimes it can be really easy to say yes to like the fleeting things and the shallow relationships as a man. Say yes to the quick thing or the thing that's just immediately available. And there comes a time, at least for me, I found where the level of depth that was calling me in love and relationship actually turned the tables on that. And it was harder for me to say yes than it was to say no to something surface level. And so I made the choice to walk away from that relationship because I knew that there was something deeper waiting for me. And I did that with love, of course. And not more than 2 or 3 months later, I found myself at an event space in La Jolla, just by myself, and standing on a rooftop, listening to live music, waiting to go downstairs and dance. And I'm standing there, and I know what my internal monologue sounds like. I know what my internal voice sounds like. I know what my conscience sounds like. But I hear this voice that isn't me that says, she's here.
Mm.
And so I sat there for a few moments, maybe 30 seconds, and went, okay, that was interesting. Kept listening to the music. 10 seconds goes by, and again, she's here. I said, okay, I'll take it serious this time. And I turn around and walk into a little gift shop that's there on the same rooftop. And within a minute of being in the gift shop, I'm speaking with a mutual friend that I had only met one other time, the New Year's Eve previous to this year. And she's introducing me to Alaya Moon. And the first thing that we say is, I say, I like your hat. She's wearing this beautiful, like, fur. I don't know if it was like a fox or what kind of fur it was, but fur hat. I say, I like your hat. She goes, thanks. Do you want to pet it?
That's something she'd do.
For sure. That'd be.
And I said, yes, I do. And so I pet her hat. And we spent the remainder of that evening pretty much with each other, feeling each other out, speaking with each other, like getting to know each other. I could tell that there was an immediate like spark and connection there. And I felt just so drawn to her, and I could feel that she was drawn to me as well. And I was just holding space and holding presence with that and with her. And I remember a moment where she looked at me very intensely and said, so what do you want?
What do you want from me? What's your intention here, sir?
And I looked at her and I said, I want to go deep.
Mm.
Yeah.
How long ago was
2 years ago.
Mm.
Yeah.
In a few months.
2 years and a few months, April. Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful? I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So we're doing all this work on yourself. A lot of men aren't. What do you think inspired you specifically in starting that journey on your own? Because A, a lot of men aren't, not all men, but a lot. Majority of men are not. And B, the ones that are usually dragged in by a partner or initiated or inspired. A lot of times it's dragged in. So what inspired that for you?
For me, it did come through heartbreak. Yeah.
That initiated you in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was being in a 2.5 year on and off again relationship where the patterns and things that I hadn't looked at close enough in my life kept emerging and were causing myself and my partner deep pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I had finally come to a point of causing a rupture in the relationship, causing pain, and asking myself, why do I keep ending up here? And that was the question that took me on the whole journey. Within that question came the answer, I want to do something about this. I don't want to keep showing up this way. I don't want to keep ending up in this place. I don't want to keep recycling the same relationship patterns and affecting people in this way. And I wanted to change.
That's powerful. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people are not open to that. They stay stuck in their kind of
comfort zone of pain
Mhm.
or suffering. So I congratulate you for that.
And thank you. Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your story so that other men can see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. So how did that feel to have him say he wants to go deep within a few hours of meeting him, Miss Alaya?
I was like, ha, that's cute. Not with me. No chance. I was in a very different place. I was coming out of 5 years in a relationship that was very unhealthy, and I did not have a lot of freedom in. I very much gave a lot of my power away, and I was very newly single and honestly wanted to feel my sexuality because it had been turned off in that relationship for many years. And there was an attraction and a spark, and I had been so deeply hurt that I had made agreements with myself to not go deep again. So receiving that was terrifying. Yeah.
Something worked.
Something worked.
Something about it worked. We're here now.
Mm-hmm.
So in the terrifying, what inspired you to continue to lean in?
Just being in his presence for a few hours shook the most fundamental beliefs that I had about men to my core.
What is that?
And it was through his depth of presence. I am someone who is very used to conscious community and being seen and eye contact. And the way that he was not just looking at me, but holding me in his presence actually made me uncomfortable because I had never felt so deeply seen by another person. So that was one for start. Another one was that I was, like I said, very much just wanting to feel myself and feel myself in my freedom of my sexuality after being in a relationship from 18 to 23 and never really being single. And so I was flaunting that and very much in the beginning stages of understanding the power of my sexuality. And with that, it was unleashed. There was no containment. I was actually bringing all the sex appeal that I had to the situation and just like dancing and being so wild and so crazy. And the look in his eyes and also the presence in his body and his words were all just saying, this is cute, like fun show. What's underneath this? I'm not available for just this. I'm not available to just take your body. I need much, much, much more from you. And so that was a little dizzying, and just feeling his heart and feeling his soul. All of that by the end of the night had me completely soften. Whereas I originally thought, oh, this is going to be someone fun to dance with for a night and kind of toy with. I was in more of a shadow feminine state, and his pure heart and pure presence just softened me into a puddle. And by the end of the night, I was so open and surrendered and felt a little bit more open to going deep. And there's been many, many, many times that because of I was held with so much uncare by the masculine in the past that we've faced up against those parts that are afraid to go deeper, afraid to expand. They still emerge. And every single time he holds me with so much care and non-judgment and love, and also not trying to change me in that. And so something in that recipe allows me to continue to lean in
Mm. Man, so beautiful. Love that. So, Zach, you sound like you have some education with the feminine. I don't think men just do that innately anymore. Or maybe they did originally, but then they were trained by societal's programming that that's not how they should behave, that they should behave another way.
Mm-hmm.
I experience a lot of times extraction energy from the masculine, and women play into that, right? We play our roles, just what you were talking about with throwing sexual energy out into the world and just we can create a lot of chaos, women, with that, and it's almost like energetic fishing for men. We do that. And you didn't take the bait. So there's got to be some sort of education that you put yourself through or experience to be where you are now and to be able to be with a woman like her and also to be that way when you met her. So for those of the listeners out there that are curious, right? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of women that are going to be like, how do I attract a guy like that? But then there's also going to be men listening. They're like, okay, wait, what? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, share on that. How did you get educated? What books do you recommend? What did you learn? What was your journey like?
Yeah. Great question. I think along with asking that original question of why do I keep ending up in these situations and having a desire to want to change and deciding to make a change, some of the first steps were letting go of everything that wasn't serving the change that I wanted to make. And so for me, that looked like letting go of alcohol. Currently 6 years sober from alcohol. It was something that was in my life for a while and was abused some and was never super, super crazy, but it was something that ultimately wasn't serving my relationships to myself and to other people at all. And it was actually getting in the way of making those deeper connections and showing up how I wanted to. So I let that go. Letting go of pornography, still something that I'm challenged by even today, like being 5 years removed from regular pornography usage. I still have pathways in the brain and pathways in my body that are triggered and lit up by certain scenarios or certain erotic images. And so I think for a lot of men, that's a big piece, is starting to understand and really look at with a new awareness and perspective where we're directing our sexual energy and doing the best that we can to reclaim that from some of these places. Not to say that all these places are bad and that they don't serve a purpose, but I think ultimately if it's something that's keeping us from being open-hearted and being connected to our bodies and our sexuality and reclaiming that and harnessing it in a positive way, then it's probably something to look at letting go. And so that was a piece that I let go as well. And really looking almost just from an input-output perspective to make it simple, especially for the masculine, and being more in like a logistical mental place of like, how do I do this thing to get to this destination? Basically anything that I was taking in my life, whether it was social media, people I was following, people I was hanging out with, substances I was abusing, if it wasn't a positive outcome or an output, I was letting go of that input and then plugging back into positive inputs. For me, that was like reading, listening to podcasts. Health and wellness was a big part of this journey for me. I went to a 1-year mold toxicity experience around the same time. And so a lot of it was eating clean food and getting healthy and putting myself in a positive environment and starting to get myself into the mindset of how do I take care of myself in the best way so that I can start to take care of others in the same way. And then, from that point, really got drawn into I was very fortunate to fall into some positive male influence circles and men's groups. And a lot of the online teachers I was able to find, David Data, Brian Reeves, G.S. Youngblood, just to name a few, are all men that have been in the conscious relating space for over a decade and have been through a lot of these initiations that a man goes through, walked the path a little bit before me, and have offerings and have resources and have books where I was able to plug in and read things on how to show up and how to hold the feminine in certain situations. So I will shout out this one book. I think a lot of people have heard of The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida, and that's a beautiful book for a man that's starting on this journey of like where to reclaim some of these unintegrated pieces and look at things from a new way. And then The Masculine in Relationship by G.S. Youngblood, I remember was really the book that started to expand my understanding of how to engage with the feminine as the masculine polarity in relationship and start to understand that the waves of emotion and the way that the feminine moves isn't necessarily something to understand from the masculine mind. And which is a
Good one. That's a good one. Preach. You guys always want to fix the problem, and we don't want that problem fixed. We don't need it at this moment.
We like our mess.
Yeah. Or our dance.
Our dance.
Yeah.
I love that you said The Way of the Superior Man. When I work with my clients, it's the very first book I have men read.
Yeah.
And then The Queen's Code is the one I have women read.
Yeah.
And there's and I'm a sex coach, and a lot of people hire me thinking that I'm going to give them notes on sex. And then I'm like, wait, let's learn how to communicate first.
Yeah.
I love that you're bringing that one in. And then the other one I actually haven't heard of, so I'm excited to read that myself. I love to read both sides of the equation just for what I do. But yeah, it's really impactful. And for those of you who are listening, it's really, as he's speaking, it's really important to stay strong and firm in the chaos. And that's what I feel like when you men know how to be firm in the chaos, then our nervous systems can relax and we can surrender, and then the chaos goes away. And a lot of times I've experienced, especially in the spiritual communities, a lot of times when I'm in my chaos, a lot of like feminine men can go then into their chaos. And then it's just this chaos experience. And I think
Spinning.
it's like a spin. Yeah, it's a spin out that happens. And it's really exhausting. It's exhausting for me. And I've seen it be exhausting for a lot of women. Appreciate the education.
Yeah.
It's good to see a brother who's doing the work on himself.
Yeah.
And also sharing it. How's it been for you to have that experience? Like when I'm talking to on like settling the nervous system, and I know you work with nervous system regulation, somatic therapy, and so forth.
I've done a lot of healing work and experienced a lot of different modalities and trained in different modalities. I have never experienced anything more powerful than the depth of healing that I am able to experience just in our love. The trauma that is able to release from my body is profound and is continuing to unwind in our intimacy and just in our day-to-day. I have seriously feel like I have been healed in your presence in so many ways. And you've also restored my faith in men as well. And now I feel where before I really saw the masculine as adversary, now I'm also able to understand men more, and I am surrounded by amazing men everywhere I go. And yeah, it's really beautiful because I'm very much in my feminine and a very, very sensitive and emotional being. And I am feeling a lot all the time. And I even feel that there is something about my design type that allows me to feel a lot of grief and emotion in the collective that other people aren't feeling. And so he's definitely holding space for a lot. And just even today on the beach before we came here, just always when I'm starting to spin out, knows the exact questions to ask and just knows how to listen and allows me to have my release. And say the craziest things and have them not mean anything. And just let me be in my experience. And then I'm like, oh, okay, better. 5 minutes ago, I was just like an insane person. Yeah,
Well, I think that's another one too, is like a lot of times we as the feminine will say something and it's really real for us in that moment, but it's real in that moment, and that it's not real in that moment forever.
Yeah.
That moment's a moment.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that I can say something and it can be like the masculine can hold on to it for a long time and like make it concrete. And I feel like that sometimes, a lot of times, we're like a fractured energy or discord can happen where the woman doesn't feel understood and the man feels like, wait, but I heard you and now it's not true and I don't understand. It's like the masculine and the feminine are speaking two different languages and they're not hearing each other. And it's important to start learning how to speak the opposite sex's language. To if you're listening right now and you have the desire to have depth and intimacy and sweetness and love with the opposite sex and respect, I think it's really comes down to the respect. It's important to learn how the other person speaks. And I see you guys both doing that. So, job. You get a gold star. As you deepen and as you are exploring this intimacy together, it's initiating something inside of you. And that's the reason I invited you on tonight, because you're wanting to share this with the world or those who are inspired to magnetize into a container. And so I'm just really curious because I heard a little bit, Leah and I were at a festival last weekend called High Vibe Fest, and we were having a lot of fun together, and we had a chit chat about it, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I want to go on I want to be on it because I'm looking for divine union, right? I'm looking for union codes. And I said this last weekend on my show I'm a sex coach that's currently celibate. And one of the things about that is I'm like so okay with it. And I'm so in ownership of my sexual energy. And that's really what I teach, is sexual sovereignty, like having complete ownership of your sexual frequency. And that's my way of bringing in union codes, because I don't want the energy and frequency of a partner or a person, a man, to go inside of me and bring energy that I'm not interested in having. And so I'm just curious, what is moving through you guys with this program? What are you wanting to serve and give and support? And share with me. I want to know.
Let's be real. Most people are starving for a real connection, hot, steamy sex, and honest communication. In my private coaching, we strip it all down. We explore tantra, kink, power dynamics, and the parts of you've been taught to hide. I help you name your deepest desires, clear that shame, and stop settling so you can become sexually sovereign. That means your sexuality doesn't run you, you own it. You move with intention, not impulse. Whether you're in a couple or flying solo, I am your sex coach, your truth mirror, and your no BS cheerleader for living a bold, ethical, and turned on life. Apply now for a complimentary 30-minute consultation at roseheartsong.com if you're ready to stop performing and start thriving in your erotic truth. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, ever since meeting Alaya, I knew that her and I were going to have a relationship where the lessons that we learned and the ways that we would grow would be things that we would eventually offer for others to help understand different phases of relationship. And we've been able to come to a place now where we're cultivating a container that is titled Calling in the Beloved. And our truest intention and heartfelt intention is to have this be a 2-month container of devotional living. Something that both Alaya and I were doing prior to meeting each other was, whether we knew it or not, we were in devotion to the love that we would share. We were in devotion to our own heart.